Hey there folks. So I just wanted to make a video here about my new Maverick. I have never owned a Ford before. I never thought I would own a Ford. It's a work truck for me, and you'll have to forgive, I don't have a ton of super professional editing skills or anything like that. I'm not usually making these kinds of videos, but I have a valuable perspective, especially for you guys who already have Mavericks and you're just looking in with curiosity or maybe considering buying the 25, because I have a perspective of someone who's never owned a Maverick. And I think if you've owned a 24 Maverick, there might be things that, or I'm sorry, just the previous generation, there's going to be things that you kind of just don't notice anymore, that maybe a fresh set of eyes coming into the 25 can just kind of, disrupt maybe some of the normal stuff you've thought about the Maverick for a while. Because this truck definitely surprised me. Obviously I bought it, and because I have it so early, it means I've had it on order for a while, which is true. I definitely thought I would have use for a Maverick, but I think some of the certain features and how usable it's been have surprised me. So I'll try and give you like the best information that I have. And let's see, now that I'm walking around, I do notice a little piece of tape, probably from the factory. I'll mess around with that later. So I'm going to try and give you my honest opinion as someone who's never owned a Maverick or anything quite like it, not even a Ford, on what I like about this, what I'm going to be using it for, and things that I already noticed that I have questions and doubts. So let's get into it. So first things first, this bed is legit. It's awesome. I've never had a truck before. Having a bed is going to be extremely useful. We've got the electrical outlet, which I do have to charge stuff at my job every day, so that'll help me being able to charge them in the bed rather than taking them upstairs every time. Then we have a tiny bit of storage there. The interior is wet because I just picked it up yesterday, and then it's been in the cold, so only time will tell if this is waterproof. But this is just Ford's. And it really didn't take me that long to install. I don't know what they're charging for installation, but I would just install it on your own if you're thinking about that. So a part of me actually getting this Maverick was because of the truck bed. My other two vehicles, I have a Tesla Y Performance, a 23, and then I have a 24 Land Cruiser. And this thing has a bed, which I have plenty of storing and towing capacity between my other vehicles, but that's not always the point. Sometimes when I'm bringing something that might, leak gas or oil, like a tote goat or something, it's good to have bed space to put it in, because sometimes it's not the point to put it inside. And then my job also requires that I get decent fuel mileage because I go all over the place, probably 15 to 20,000 miles every 3 months when I'm doing this job. And so the fuel economy was big, but I don't want to sacrifice the all-wheel drive when I, don't particularly, or I should say when I do particularly need it. Not that I go off-road a bunch, but sometimes it gets snowy. We're here in Utah, so, but yeah, so that's why I got the Maverick. I'm hoping it serves its purpose really well. Ford's not known as a staple of reliability, but we took a chance. And here's another thing that I'll say. With the interior, that is way better looking than I thought it would be. In fact, if you've been staring at a Maverick order screen, or you keep building it online and you see these seats in the smoked truffle, oh man, they don't look that good online. I was really afraid that it would be super tan. It's not. It's more brown in person than you'd think, and it looks fantastic. Everyone who sat in here has said, kudos, that looks amazing. So if you have doubts about the interior color, I wouldn't be afraid of that unless you have green exterior paint. That's pretty gnarly combo there. With the white, you're not setting yourself up for too much pain there. If you get a darker color, the azure blue Oh, that would look good. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised at how mature the colors are. This orange, which used to be neon in the old Mavericks, because I've seen them, is now more like a dark stone red. And yeah, it looks really good. So here we are in the interior. Let's kind of check it out. We'll go ahead and boot this up. Okay, so again, I'm not going to be super professional at editing all of this. I'm sorry you're going to kind of have to dig for some of my opinions and stuff. I'm just going to tell you something because it's on my mind that I think was kind of a miss. You'll see that this is the new digital cluster. I know that the other Mavericks of past generation, they had mostly analog, and you'll see that they, you know, the heat and the fuel gauge is now like this very nice, crisp, electronic looking, I don't even know what you describe those as, like bars and indicators. They look fantastic, especially at night, like how sharp these are. Like that was a really cool addition. I don't think the screen matches how good that looks. Like, I remember taking a test drive in a 2023 Maverick, and I loved the analog like charging like power indicator of how much, it's essentially like how many revs you're at, but it shows you if you're charging or electric, right? I think I prefer that to this speedometer. So if you kind of scroll through here, I'll show you. We've got a couple of views, and you can change these a little bit, but this is like your EV coach, which is, I think, supposed to replace like that dial from before, because it's the only thing on your speedometer gauge cluster that will display something about electricity. I mean, here you can see fuel economy and then like electric miles driven, but this is your only like instant feedback on what you're doing with the powertrain and the hybrid and everything, which I know most people are going to get. Even the fuel economy thing on here, it doesn't do what this little thing does. And I'll show you here. We'll just go slowly. I don't have my seatbelt on. It'll show you if you're using electric power, which I am, or if you press on the pedal, hybrid, or if you're slowing down, charging, right? And it looks fine, but like, just take a look at those graphics. Like, it's kind of fuzzy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little unimpressed with that. And with how cool the analog was before, and with how cool this change was, like how much thought went into the shapes and the whatever they did to get that so crisp on the side, I just don't feel like the rest of it is up to snuff. Like, and I'm a little sad about it, because I've had Chevrolet Volts before, I've had hybrids, all of my cars are hybrid or electric, right? My Land Cruiser, my Tesla. I love seeing feedback on what's happening with the powertrain. It's satisfying. But this thing is just kind of bare bones. So I might just not look at that most of the time. But besides that, I mean, this is good. I did have kind of a trek to go get this, so we use the lane keeping system on our way here. Can't remember what Ford calls it, like Super Cruise or something. And it keeps you in your lane really well. It makes you touch it all the time unless you got your hand kind of putting weight on it, right? So that was actually a lot better than I expected. I drive so much, that was a really good addition. Took a second to remember what it was, but all I had to do was turn on the car to realize. So it'll show you who's got their seatbelts on or not, and you'll see that I've got that rear one plugged in, because I don't know what it is. I'd be super curious to see if anyone else has this issue. Please let me know. If anybody sits in either seats, that rear middle seat goes off. Tells me it needs to be buckled up. So I got fed up. This screen like never goes away, so it's just always buckled in for now. So that's kind of annoying. We'll see what's up with that. Should have bumper to bumper warranty for 3 years, so if something's wrong, like, I should be able to get that addressed. The other thing is that the wireless charging, while it's really nice to have, it seems to be pretty finicky. It could be my phone. I have the Samsung Fold 6. So, I mean, my phone is chunky. It's got a big case. There's also like an additional, it feels like a cover on here that you could take off. So there's a good amount of space. But I'll bet that I'm not alone in saying that, you know, you put your phone down, it'll show you charging initially. 5 seconds later, it won't be. And so you have to kind of like guide it. And it's never like perfectly squared up. So that was kind of a zonk. Like, I'm not really going to be using the wireless charging based on that. But let's get into the interior and what's super good about it, because I love this dash trim. It is, you know, cheap and useful looking. Like, it's cheap looking in the best way. Like, my brother, you know, he owns a $50,000+ car. He got in here, he said he just loves this rock look, which isn't new from the other Mavericks, but this color is. And it's like the best way to make cheap work in an interior like this. Just looks great. The variation, like the inlaid of the texture and the little particles, I just love that. That was a big hit. Kind of goes on over here. Whatever these lines are, I don't know, they're cool, right? It's just kind of something you love about the interior. But the screen, it's gigantic. It's phenomenal. Now I will say you can use what am I trying to say here? So with Android Auto, you can obviously do this little screen split thing. I'm sure it's the same on Apple CarPlay. If you come back here, I found that I like having the map big. And if you just swipe up through here, I mean, Ford has a really good way of displaying your music here anyways. And it'll always carry through the image. So I've kind of liked having this, and this makes the map and music combo bigger than on the Land Cruiser. Which is impressive. And then obviously the Tesla doesn't even have this, so I'm grateful to have Android Auto. Some other things that I love about the interior, they brought this storage pocket here to be a permanent feature rather than an add-on with that little screen they had before. On this screen, you do have modes that I forgot to show you, which I did use. Don't know if they worked. I put on slippery mode. Would like to attribute some of my success driving the Three Sisters in Wyoming while it was snowing on getting here. So I don't know if it worked a ton, but yeah, I think it doesn't stay in the mode that you last have it in when you get back in. It'll ask you if you want to get back into it. So that's kind of annoying. The interior has lots of storage, as you already know. Cup holders and pockets for days and little areas you just don't really know quite what to do with, but you're excited about them anyways. Same with the door pockets. My goodness, there's tons of little things. As you can see, it goes just back there. Definitely for like an umbrella or something. Big water bottle. I love having the option for that. Another thing I'll say, you other Maverick owners are going to have to tell me from old years, but the door close, it is solid. Like, the air rushes into your ears. It's like closing a G-Wagon or something. The feeling of that is fantastic. And I haven't gotten it to make any weird noises. We're getting something there. It seems really well built, and maybe that's not the issue when it comes to Mavericks. I have no idea, but it was my understanding that Mavericks are supposed to be unreliable and break down and vibrate and crap, and I don't know. That hasn't been my experience so far. Time will tell. So something else, cameras. The cameras are beautiful. Let's see here. This is just one step away from like my favorite feature on my Tesla. I would love that if I hit that turn signal, if it would display that blind spot. That would just be beautiful. That's a big safety thing too. I think that's underrated, and if they have the power to do that, they should. So you've got the tow ball backup, you've got the rear view, obviously 360, which is fantastic. I haven't messed with this before. Oh, interesting. You can, oh, okay, so it'll predictively track your path and show it to you. And then it has the front camera, again, super underrated. As long as it doesn't get busted by a rock. But yeah, these cameras were a really big reason I waited for the new Maverick instead of the old one. I was like, if I'm going to pay out the wazoo for a small truck, and we'll get into the price, I might as well have this stuff, you know? I did get a window or a moonroof. Don't remember ordering it, but we got it. The rear window totally opens. It's the most adorable thing ever. My father just said he uses it when he passes gas. I think that is a beautiful reason for it. But yeah, the overall experience in here is great. The seat heaters, and also I know it's a trigger to have these in the screen. I don't care. So it hasn't been a big deal. This is the most responsive screen I've felt on a Ford. I haven't owned a Ford. I've just seen others at work. Yeah, press that camera button. It is extremely responsive, in fact. And so having the seat heaters in here, which there is an auto mode, works great. Not a really big deal to me. The steering wheel heater is a little weak. It feels more like it's getting it up to your body temperature, which is still useful, but it's not hot. The seats, though, are magma. They're super hot. If I turn that up on high, whoever's in the passenger will guaranteed turn it down at some point. So, but yeah, that's about it in here. You can hear our hybrid kicking on there. I love all the power on board. You have cigarette lighter, Type C, Type A, a plug, and 2 Type Cs. And let's get in the back and just see the space. So that's my normal driving seat position. I'm 5'11". Oh man, I can't get my knees to touch unless I were to really slouch. But slouching that much is uncomfortable. And my head, so I don't know if you can see here, they do a raised indentation on purpose. They know what they were doing. I don't know. Some environmentalist just came and said hi to me. Anyways, yeah, this back seat interior is it's really good. And we might be taking on a road trip with 5 people. And so I have complete confidence in this. But yeah, this roof is raised. You do have the cup holders. And then behind the seat is the subwoofer, which should be touched on. I'll get to that in just a second, but let me show you under the seat storage. All these truck things I'm just not used to. This is just, it's lovely finding out all this stuff, and this does hold itself up. And then there's your car battery, your, yeah, like the plus and minus. Sorry, I can't jump your car. My battery's not in the front kind of thing. And then I'll just, for thoroughness, show you this right here. So, and there's the jack. The sales lady made sure to tell me there is a jack, which is great. And the spare should be right there, spare tire. But yeah, so let's get into the sound system real quick. So sound systems are big to me. Arguably, for me, the Tesla Model Y has the best sound system I've ever heard. The most punchy bass, the clearest highs, and it has a ton of speakers. I think it's 16 or something. I could be wrong, but sounds amazing. And my, Land Cruiser has JBL. I really don't like shirking on the music. It's big to me. And so when I heard the Lariat has the sub, that was actually the #1 reason I just went ahead and got this trim. Obviously it came with some other benefits, but the music is what pushed me over the edge. And so if you come in here to sound, you can change this. I have changed it just to test it a little bit. This has an amazing sound system. This is coming from other cars. I've never had a Maverick. I can't compare it to the old gen, but this one is fantastic. And I'll have to see how that holds up. I'd hope that I don't really turn up my volume a ton. I really hope I wouldn't blow any speakers just through normal use, but it sounds good. I don't know how to get the point across. I could play you some stuff. It won't really sound like it does in real life, and I'll get copyrighted, and I'm not even trying to get a ton of views anyways. So, but just taking my word for it, I came from the Tesla. That thing has punchier bass for sure. This one has about the same range. Like, it seems like it pushes the same tones of bass really hard as the Tesla. It just doesn't push them quite as hard as the Tesla. But it sounds really clear. There are speakers like up by your head up there, so it's kind of hard to miss them. Then we've got them down here, middle, and sides. And then the sub. It sounds really good. I'm sorry, I can't really use anything but words to tell you about it, but it needs to be said that this sound system is phenomenal. I don't know how it is on the lower trims of this one. I'd be afraid to know, probably. But this one's good. So that is the interior, and if y'all have any other questions on it, let me know, and I'll try and answer comments. Just good stuff in here. Let's take a quick peek under the hood. So this is the 2.5 liter hybrid, putting out 190 horsepower, I want to say. I know that the EcoBoost has been really known for actually being pretty peppy. It had a 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds, I want to say, on the old one. I think the new one's even a little bit quicker. But for me, it was never a viable choice to go EcoBoost. Like, when I was considering the 24, I would have rather bit the bullet and done front wheel drive with hybrid than all wheel with EcoBoost. However, because of the electric motor in this, the high voltage system, it does actually get off the line pretty quick. I haven't pushed it a ton. In a Ford, you really want to respect that braking period, and that's what I've been doing. But what I can tell is when the battery's charged and it gives me some of that, I had it in sport mode once, and it threw everyone in the car's heads back against the seat. So it has a little bit of pep off the line. I don't know if that continues. It probably quickly fades. But if you're afraid of it being, dead slow, it's not a valid fear. The CVT is very smooth. I'm really happy with how it drives. Actually wouldn't change really anything. If it came with cost, I like it how it is. Another thing to note is there's a lot of colors on these new Mavericks. I did the space white metallic. I hate flat white a lot, so the Oxford white was out of the question. This might not matter to you, or it might. If you're, looking at the space white specifically, and you're afraid of it being too white, it's not. It's actually very gray, as you can probably tell. My family members all thought it was gray. They said, "What kind of gray is this?" And so anyways, I don't know what kind of opinion you may hold on the white, but if you're wondering, this space white is very much like gray. I don't think it's any different from Ford's, F-Series trucks space white. But it's not super white at all. It's actually very gray. So whether you care about that or not, or if it helps you make your decision, hopefully I helped there. But in closing, I'll just tell you that one thing I was thrilled about, because as you probably know, Teslas are not known for range. Mine will get maybe 200 to 240 miles on a charge, depending on how disciplined I am. My Land Cruiser has upgraded wheels and tires, and it already didn't have a big gas tank, so it only goes probably 325 miles. This thing, I drove it home from Wyoming, right, as we discussed. I haven't put any gas in it. I've got 315 on the Odo. You can see I still have another 215 miles of range. Fantastic. It's got over 500 miles of range. Most of those are highway miles too, which are gonna be about 6 less miles per gallon on average. So that's something that I just feel over the moon about. Coming from my Tesla, which is earth-shatteringly rigid in the ride, I will say that I think this thing rides amazing for unibody. My Land Cruiser is definitely really comfy, but it is body on frame. And so this thing, while I think the Land Cruiser is better at some things, like handling really big bumps, this thing is very well-mannered over tiny stuff. And the unibody just recovers from, you know, potholes and such like that. So I love how it rides, and I've never been in a Maverick before, so I can't tell you how it compares. I doubt much has changed from those, but I love how this thing rides. For me, it's kind of a novelty. I'm always in either that gigantic cruiser or that super rigid Model Y, and so for this thing to just handle the road so well, I love getting in this thing. Like, oh, it just rides, it reminds me of a car again, like a good riding car in the best way. And so I like how it rides. The steering is kind of funny. I'll say that steering it is fine, but this is the only steering wheel I've ever felt that tries to recover itself to center almost by some mechanism, it seems. Like well, I'm gonna have to drive a little bit to show you. Let's go around this turn and I'll kind of demonstrate. Most steering wheels, when you turn them all the way and then you want to go straight again, you kind of let go of the wheel to let it recover itself, right? So I'm turning left. With most cars, you would turn and then let go at some point to let it start recovering on its own. This thing recovers extremely fast. It's almost like it has weight attached to bring it to center no matter what. Someone in the comments could probably tell me more, but like, I'm not kidding. Like, if we're just going 1 mile an hour, like this thing, you can't let go because you'll end up not going the direction you meant. Whereas with a different vehicle, you could let go and the car's weight will actually correct it by the time you're going the direction you want it to. So it does kind of make for a weird feel, like it comes through your hands a lot faster than you thought it would around turns. So that has been a little bit of an adjustment. It doesn't seem too light, doesn't seem too heavy. Makes you feel like I'm driving a nice little twuck, you know? Not a truck, but a twuck. And yeah, I like this thing. I guess all that's left to say is it worth the price? I think it's hard to say. It's a no for me, but clearly I have it. Nobody in the right mind wants to spend $40,000 on what is supposed to be a small, affordable truck, and it is small. I mean, it doesn't get smaller. Not even those old Nissan trucks from back when. And anyways, it is a lot of money for a truck like this, and these were pitched as a $20,000 truck, which of course you can still get this one for 26, but 26 for what is the bottom trim with no amenities, like, I don't know. There's a part of me that doesn't want to sacrifice, and people have different areas in their lives where they don't want to sacrifice. Some people it's a house, some people it's, I don't know, they always want their as many Fairlife chocolate shakes from Costco as they can ever drink. Like, that's the one thing they don't want to sacrifice on. It's like, whatever. It costs you money. There's other ways to do it. This just happens to be my area where I just don't like sacrificing. For me, not having the heated seats and the cold and the heated steering wheel, and not having the subwoofer, every time I get in the car, I would just be reminded and bugged and just think about it incessantly. And so I bit the bullet, I did it. And it is a work truck for me. It's tax write-off. I need it to do my job. It's going to help me do that. I hope it works out for me. So there is that part of the equation, but it definitely is a lot for what you pay. I think anyone can agree with that. So, I mean, 40,000 for me, you can add your opinion to mine in the comments. I'd love to hear. For me, it was worth it to do it only because I'm not really going to sacrifice and I don't want to spend 40,000. But if that's the way to get this, if you haven't been around, all cars are up. And so it is kind of apples to apples from what it used to be. I just wish that, you know, wages would raise as much as the cost of things have. But proportionally to every other car in the market, this thing hasn't raised an exaggerant amount compared to others. They're all up together. So sadly, that's kind of where we're at. And so yeah, I went ahead and I did it. It was worth it for me to get some of those upgrades. Every upgrade is like just another little comforting little, I have it. That's what I wanted, you know? So for me, yeah, it was a no-brainer. I just went ahead and did the Lariat. I think there's a lot of value in doing the XL, just the $26,000 truck. Almost, you know, 3/4 of the price of this, half the price. But it's going to be worth it for me. I'm just curious if it would be worth it for you. So I don't know, guys. What do you think? 40,000. Would you do it? Did you already spend that much on your last Maverick? I really don't think there's any sense in the Lobo, if I'm being real. The Lobo and the Tremor are, they're trying to be something that they're not, but they're costing like they are. And it's ridiculous. I think the Tremor is just way overhyped for the Maverick. I don't know exactly if I'd even do it for the bigger trucks, but to buy essentially like a little inch lift or something, you get a locker, whoop-de-doo. I don't know, man. Yeah, those make no sense to me. It's kind of like a Civic Type R. If you've been dreaming about it since you were 3 and nothing has changed and now you're 53, yeah, do it. You know who you are, though. No one's going to talk you out of it. The Lariat is the most I would consider, but it's the highest. So I don't know. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion too, and I'm excited to see other videos coming out on these just to see what other people think. Another thing with affordability that I'd say is I've always been of the mindset that if, you know, say 2 years down the road, let's say the upgraded sound system in the Lariat package respectively cost, you know, $1,000. I might be lowballing it a little bit, but say it does. If down the road in 2 years you would totally pay $1,000 to upgrade the sound system, why wouldn't you just do it right now? Like when you're buying the truck, because all you've done is bought time with that system that you can then have all that time backwards enjoying it, rather than paying the same dollar amount, probably more, aftermarket's always more, down the road just to get it anyways. Heated seats, how much are they, right? Probably $900,000 as well between the two. If you would at some point down the road value it enough to pay $1,000 to get it, why not just get it right now? That's kind of something that I always have to run through in my head. It's like, if I would pay someone to do this to my car later, why would I not just do it now? Because it will always be cheaper than aftermarket. And, you know, if you like the quality that it's going to come with, like, you know, you're not going for a whole kicker sound system. If you're okay with this upgraded version, like, yeah, you're going to do yourself a big favor by just getting it, because you might spend more aftermarket later. And so for affordability, like, I'm going to give you a little side shot of the Cruiser because it's beautiful. With affordability, it's not, for me, it wasn't that I think that truck is worth $40,000. It's that I value what I'm getting with the 40 more than keeping the 40. Like I would have eventually done that stuff to it later. So I'm just going to do it right now, you know? And that might be bad. I'm not trying to get anyone to spend more money than they should. For me, and you'll know who you are, I'm just a person who doesn't like to, again, I don't like to sacrifice that thing in my life. I like the amenities when I'm driving. I like creature comforts, all that stuff. It's fun and it's good, and I know that about myself, and so I just do it. But I know not everyone's that way. Some people, it really is just this, it's just to get you from point A to point B, and I totally understand that. If you guys would like another review, once I actually put some real mileage on this puppy, let me know, because I'll probably hit 20,000 miles just like that. Probably won't take me long. And hopefully what I see today is still what's before me then, because I really do like this truck in most every way. Hopefully not too much changes, but there's always the off chance, right? So in closing here, I'll just give you a little side-by-side shot. It's about as long as the Land Cruiser. If not, it might be just a titch longer, but yeah, that's the new Maverick. I hope that my opinion helps. I hope that having a view of a real owner who's not a YouTuber is helpful. I hope the lack of editing and the lack of concise thought didn't off-put you too much. I just think like a clearly unbiased review of what this thing is like from a real owner is valuable, especially one who's not super polished and knows all the right things to say. Like everything I've told you about the Maverick is my true honest thoughts just from the average owner. So those are always reviews that I appreciate, but let me know what you think, and if you'd buy it, if you'd hold off. I'm sure I made a big mistake in some of y'all's eyes. That's okay. I'm hoping I get my use out of it, but no doubt this thing is cute. This thing is good looking. This thing I'm hoping is going to serve me well. So we'll end it there.